Literally, like, pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
What happens when a teammate grabs a mic and says the quiet part out loud? Not just whispers, not coded tweets. Straight up truth bombs with names, claims, and no filters.
You have seen players in our league try to, like, toughen up Caitlin.
That's exactly what happened when Sophie Cunningham, now rocking the Indiana Fever jersey, stepped behind the mic and lit up the WNBA like it was open mic night at a roast battle. Because when a player who's actually been inside those locker rooms says Caitlin Clark isn't just getting fouled, she's getting targeted, people listen. And when that same player says anyone who denies Clark is the face of the league is DMB as SHT?
Yeah, then they sure aren't going to like you. Now, Sophie Cunningham has been making waves with the new podcast that she is now featured in, courtesy of The Volume. Sophie Cunningham letting it all out.
The internet breaks. But the real shock? Sophie's just getting started. Sophie Cunningham has never been background noise. On every team she's played for, whether it was the Phoenix Mercury or now the Indiana Fever, she's been that player who talks trash, drains threes, and never asks for permission to speak her mind. She's the type of player who will smirk while stealing your inbound pass, then roast your sneakers in the post-game presser.
This Caitlin Clark friendship like a cow. She was on somebody's podcast and said, when people try to argue, she's not the face of the league.
And now, she's got a mic, and she's not wasting it. With her new podcast, Show Me Something, Sophie's entering a space most athletes tiptoe through. But she's not tiptoeing. She's barreling through the front door with stories, receipts, and a message for the entire league. You can't keep pretending this is normal. Her voice cuts through the noise, because she's been in those locker rooms. She's played against Caitlin Clark. She's seen the elbows, heard the talk, and now she's sharing the parts that were supposed to stay behind closed doors. That's why this hits so hard.
She's tough. So when Caitlin Clark last week, or not last week, a couple days ago, when Caitlin Clark got destroyed, her girl Sophie came to her defense, and this was the most beast mode thing that I've seen a woman do in WNBA history. A little bit of LeBron James-esque type behavior.
This wasn't a random commentator or fan theory. This was a teammate, a veteran, a player who was on the other side of the so-called Caitlin Clark experience. And when someone like that flips the script, it doesn't just shake the room, it redefines the conversation. Sophie didn't ease into the podcast world. She detonated her debut on the very first episode of Show Me Something, hosted alongside TV personality Wes Wilson and produced by Colin Coward's Network The Volume. Sophie Cunningham came in swinging. No fluff, no media training monologue, just raw energy and a verbal flamethrower aimed directly at the elephant in the WNBA locker room. And the moment that made jaws drop? If you don't think Caitlin Clark is the face of the league, you're dumb as SH*T.
Her podcast. She's already got 122,000 views in one damn day. And that's just the YouTube side. This podcast, I believe, is on The Volume, which is Colin Cowherd's podcast network. So that's
Just like that, Sophie smashed through the polished PR glass wall that most players hide behind. The line went viral in hours. Twitter exploded. Comment sections were chaos. And YouTube, over 100,000 views in a single day. And not because Sophie said something outrageous, but because she said what a lot of people already believed, out loud, on record, and without blinking. But that was just the appetizer. Because buried between the viral quotes and laugh-out-loud one-liners was something far more serious. Something that shifted the conversation from spicy opinions to uncomfortable truths. Sophie wasn't just defending Caitlin Clark. She was exposing the reality behind what's been happening on that court all season. Sophie didn't just vent. She pulled the curtain back. In that first episode, she claimed what fans have been suspecting for months. Caitlin Clark isn't just facing tough defense. She's being targeted.
Shout out to Sophie Cunningham, aka the Pink Power Ranger, and Wes Wilson. They have a podcast called Show Me Something that they just launched. And yeah, I'm tuned in. So look, what what we all been witnessing right before our eyes about our precious CC, my precious CC, Caitlin Clark.
And this isn't social media speculation. This is coming from a player who was on the other team. Sophie said that when she was with the Phoenix Mercury, there were actual locker room conversations about Caitlin. Real, specific talk, not just about guarding her, but about sending a message. The mindset, according to Sophie, we've got to rough her up a little bit. We need to show her what the W really is. And she didn't stop there. She added that what Caitlin was dealing with wasn't normal rookie treatment. It was more. An extra edge. A different energy. As if Clark wasn't just a competitor.
In this case, Sophie Cunningham is not afraid to tell it like it is. You know, Aaliyah Boston, another member of the Fever, who has a podcast. I talked about that earlier. That launching with Candace Parker, Post Moves, and now Sophie Cunningham.
But a threat to the entire ecosystem. Now to be clear, this is Sophie's perspective. We're not inside every locker room, and we don't have receipts. But when someone who was there says, this was the vibe, it's hard not to take notice. And it forces a bigger question. If the league's newest star is being welcomed with elbows, shade, and silence from the top, what does that say about the system she just walked into? Because this didn't sound like hazing. It sounded like sabotage. Here's the uncomfortable truth that Sophie didn't just hint at. She spelled it out. Take Caitlin out, and it's not just Indiana that collapses. It's the whole WNBA illusion of growth.
Flagrantly fouled player in the league. She gets hacked and grabbed all over the floor, knocked to the floor when the ball's not even in play. The refs don't call anything. Kathy Engelberg act like she got vision like Stevie Wonder, and she don't see any of this. This is ridiculous. She's the cash cow. She's the reason that people are even watching all of this. She's the reason for all of this stuff.
That line hit harder than a flagrant foul. Because let's be honest, Caitlin Clark isn't just a rising star, she is the star. She's the headline, the highlight, the reason casual fans are even tuning in to random Tuesday night games. ESPN schedules around her. Merch flies off shelves because of her. Ratings spike every time she touches the ball. And yet inside the league, there's tension, resistance, maybe even resentment. It's the paradox nobody wants to say out loud. The WNBA is depending on Clark's popularity to grow, while acting like treating her fairly would be favoritism. She's on every billboard, every promotional tweet, every marketing push. But when she gets fouled hard with no whistle, silence. When she gets elbowed off the ball, crickets. When she gets shoved to the floor after the play, just part of the game, apparently.
Yeah, it's all coming out. The truth shall set you free. Sophie, one half of the Blonde Bombers. Sophie, the Trophy Cunningham.
It's like the league is putting her on the cover of the book while pretending she didn't write the story. And Sophie, now her teammate, isn't buying it. She's not whispering behind the scenes or offering vague support. She's calling the bluff, out loud, with names. Because if the WNBA wants Caitlin Clark's spotlight, her sponsorships, her audience, it can't pretend she's just another rookie. She's not. And Sophie's making sure no one forgets it. The moment Sophie dropped those claims, the internet didn't just react, it erupted. Clips went viral. Think pieces dropped overnight.
Face of the WNBA, there's only one person that has casuals sitting down in front of a TV, glued to their sofa, watching the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham also talks about how teams target being rough with Caitlin Clark. We gotta toughen her up.
And the floodgates opened on what fans, bloggers, and even former players have been hinting at for months. That something deeper is going on when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Rumors started flying, not just about individual fouls or missed calls, but about behind-the-scenes resentment, whispers of jealousy, and locker rooms allegedly circling certain games just to prove a point. Again, these are all unconfirmed, speculative, unverified, but they spread like wildfire because they felt true to a lot of people watching. You'd see clips of Caitlin getting hip-checked, tripped, or straight up decked off the ball, and barely a whistle. Fans started compiling montages, slow-motion breakdowns, freeze-frame evidence. And when anyone tried to say she was flopping or overreacting, Sophie's voice cut through like a siren. She's not getting roughed up because she's a rookie. She's getting bounced around because she's Caitlin Clark. That line alone reframed the entire conversation, because whether it's jealousy, generational tension, or just old school versus new school mentality, it's clear that Clark isn't just competing, she's navigating a minefield. And Sophie, she's walking right behind her, calling out every tripwire. Now, some say Sophie's just adding fuel to the drama. Others say she's the first one brave enough to call it like it is. Either way, she's forced the league and its fans to ask a very uncomfortable question. Is Caitlin Clark being welcomed into the WNBA? Or being warned? For all the smoke Sophie blew into the conversation, her message wasn't chaos for chaos's sake. It was a challenge, not just to the league, but to the culture surrounding it. Beneath the viral quotes and locker room reveals, what Sophie's really saying is simple. If we want the WNBA to grow, we can't keep eating our own. She's not begging for favoritism. She's not asking for bubble wrap. She's calling for respect, consistency, and a little honesty about what's really happening on the court. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie learning the ropes, she's the rope the league is climbing. And Sophie's seen both sides. She's been the opponent trying to knock Caitlin off balance. Now she's the teammate watching her get tossed to the floor, while refs pretend they forgot their whistles in the locker room. And when she speaks up, it's not performative. It's personal. This isn't just about fouls. It's about protecting the league's investment. Because whether the league wants to admit it or not, Caitlin Clark is the brand right now. And treating her like she's replaceable? That's bad business. That's self-sabotage. Sophie's outburst wasn't a meltdown. It was a line in the sand. She's not saying, make Caitlin untouchable. She's saying, stop pretending like this is just basketball when it's clearly not. And fans heard her, loud and clear. This moment isn't just about Caitlin Clark or Sophie Cunningham. It's about the WNBA's tipping point and how fast it could slip through their fingers. Because right now, the league has something it hasn't had in years. Attention, energy, casual fans becoming loyal ones. People who didn't know what a shot clock was last season are now buying merch, setting game alerts, and arguing stats on Twitter like they've been here for a decade. And why? Let's not play dumb. It's because of Caitlin Clark. Her presence flipped the spotlight. Ratings soared. Social media turned WNBA clips into viral moments. Arena seats filled up. And suddenly, this league had more eyes on it than ever before. But here's the risk. If the W fumbles this, if they keep letting their most marketable star get knocked around without accountability, without protection, and without support, those eyes will look away. Fast. Because people aren't just watching for the basketball. They're watching for the narrative. And nothing kills a narrative quicker than watching your protagonist get punished for being the main character. Let's be real. If Caitlin Clark walked away tomorrow, it wouldn't just be a bad headline. It'd be a meltdown. Merch sales crashed. TV deals reevaluated. Casual fans ghosted. The dominoes would fall faster than a fourth quarter fast break. And that's what Sophie was warning about, whether she meant to or not. You can't claim to want growth, then attack the very person pulling you forward. Because if the league loses Clark, they don't just lose a player. They lose the moment. Sophie Cunningham didn't just switch teams. She switched roles, and maybe the whole vibe of Indiana Fever with it. She's not just another shooter in the rotation anymore. She's Caitlin Clark's enforcer. Old school hockey fans know the type. The one who isn't there to lead the scoreboard, but to make sure no one messes with the star without consequences. And the moment Sophie stepped behind a mic and defended Clark with heat, humor, and no fear of backlash, she cemented that role. She went from rival to ride or die, and fans noticed. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't safe. But it was real. And that's exactly why it hit. Because the truth is, the WNBA isn't just a league, it's a story. A constantly evolving saga of rivalries, locker room drama, breakout stars, and messy truths. And now, Sophie and Caitlin are the league's most interesting subplot. The sharpshooter and the sniper, the phenom and the protector, the new school and the no-filter vet. Together, they're not just playing games. They're forcing conversations, breaking narratives, and giving fans a reason to care about what happens next. And with Show Me Something picking up steam, Sophie's just getting warmed up. More episodes are coming. More stories. More shade. More moments that blur the line between player and personality. The league wanted attention. Well, now they've got it. The thing about Sophie Cunningham, her podcast might have gone viral, but that's not where her real power lies. Her real power is that she can talk the talk and back it up in sneakers. This isn't some bench warmer running her mouth. Sophie's a legit two-way player. She'll lock you up on defense, drain a transition three, then hit you with a sarcastic smile like she just finished a stand-up set. That's what makes her dangerous. She's not just talking drama. She's forcing it to matter. And when she calls out the league, it hits different because she's in the game. Literally. She's not tweeting from a couch or ranting on a live stream. She's in those huddles, in those matchups, and now she's in your head. Let's call it what it is. This whole toughen her up thing, it's giving more mean girls than competitive edge. You've got veteran players allegedly scheming to humble the new girl, not because she's cocky or disrespectful, but because she's getting too much attention too fast. That's not toughness. That's insecurity in a jersey. And when Sophie described it, it didn't sound like locker room banter. It sounded like a league-wide clique trying to make Caitlyn earn it by enduring cheap shots and silence. Spoiler alert, that's not how growth works. You don't pull down the ladder just because someone else climbed it faster. And if the WNBA wants to stop being labeled toxic by new fans, this energy has to go. Before the story becomes why didn't you stop it? Instead of how far could this league have gone? While we're at it, let's talk about the media. Because as this drama unfolded, a lot of reporters and talking heads pretended to stay neutral. But their silence? That's a statement too. Instead of holding the league accountable or asking why the most watched player keeps getting hammered with no support, some media outlets leaned into the safe angle. She's just adjusting to the pros. But let's be real, that narrative is tired. This isn't about adjusting. This is about survival. And if it weren't for Sophie saying the quiet part out loud, we'd still be watching it happen without any context. Credit where it's due. Sophie forced the media's hand. Now they either start asking the real questions or get exposed as part of the cover-up. Before they were teammates, Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham weren't exactly close. Opponents. Rivals. Even Sophie admitted there was extra smoke when she faced her. But something shifted when they landed on the same team. Behind the trash talk and hard fouls, there was mutual respect. And now, there's genuine loyalty. You can feel it in their body language. You can hear it in the way Sophie talks about her now, like someone who's seen the abuse up close and said enough. And that's what fans are responding to. Not just highlight reels or big numbers. They're watching a bond form in real time. A partnership between two totally different players who now share one goal. Protect the game. Protect each other. Speak the truth. It's not just basketball anymore. It's a story you feel. Here's the part no one wants to say out loud. What happens if Caitlin Clark finally hits her breaking point? What happens if she gets elbowed one more time without a whistle? One more sarcastic post-game comment? One more week of being told, you're not the face of anything? And she finally says, I'm done. Because right now, she's showing restraint. She's taking the hits, playing through the noise, staying locked in. But even the strongest players have a limit. And if she ever reaches it, the fallout won't just hit Indiana. It'll hit the league, the fans, the sponsors, the networks. And they'll all act shocked, when really, they should have seen it coming. That's the real danger in what Sophie revealed. It's not just about drama. It's about a moment that could change everything.